This strategy is too progressive for Hana Group. Forgive me, Director Park, but do you truly understand what luxury means to our legacy clients?
The moment Cho Sung-ho stood up in front of 200 shareholders, Nia knew her career was either about to end or begin. His voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. This strategy is too progressive for Heir Group. Forgive me, Director Park, but do you truly understand what luxury means to our legacy clients? Every eye in the room turned to her. The chubby Afro-Korean woman who had dared to challenge 40 years of tradition. And in the back of the room, he was watching. Park Nia-hana wasn't supposed to be here. Born in Seoul to a Ghanaian mother and Korean father, she spent her childhood navigating two worlds that didn't quite know what to do with her. Too Korean for some, too foreign for others. But Nia had one thing no one could take away. She understood luxury better than anyone in that room. 3 years ago, she joined Heir Group as a junior marketing analyst. 18 months later, she became the youngest executive director of marketing in the company's history. Tonight, at the annual shareholder gala held at Heir's flagship hotel in Gangnam, she was about to present a strategy that would either revolutionize the brand or destroy her career. The ballroom was filled with Seoul's elite, investors in tailored suits, board members who had built Heir Group into a hospitality empire, media cameras recording every word. Nia stood at the podium, her presentation glowing on the screen behind her. Her pitch was bold, authentic storytelling, inclusive luxury, a brand evolution that invited modern consumers into the Heir experience without losing its prestige. The data was flawless. The strategy, brilliant, but not everyone was ready to hear it. Cho Sung-ho, Senior VP of Operations, board member for 15 years, and one of the most powerful voices in the company, didn't wait for her to finish. He stood. The room went quiet. Director Park, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but this approach is too progressive for our brand. Heir Group has built 4 decades of prestige on exclusivity and tradition. This storytelling strategy you're proposing, it's not what our legacy clients expect. The subtext was clear to everyone in that room. She doesn't understand luxury. She doesn't belong here. Nia felt every eye on her, the board members exchanging glances, the investors shifting in their seats, the cameras zooming in. Her heart pounded, but she didn't flinch. She took a breath, let the silence settle. Then she smiled. With respect, Director Cho, the market disagrees. She pulled up a slide. Data, charts, consumer insights. Luxury consumers aged 25 to 45 now prioritize authenticity over exclusivity by a margin of 67%. Competitor brands who've embraced storytelling without compromising quality have seen market share increases of up to 28%. The Peninsula Bangkok, Aman Resorts, even Shilla hotels have adapted. The question isn't whether Heir should evolve. The question is whether we'll lead that evolution or watch our competitors do it for us. The room was silent. Younger shareholders leaned forward. Older board members frowned. Cho Sung-ho's jaw tightened, but Nia didn't look at him. She looked at the data, at the future she knew was coming. And in the back of the ballroom, standing in the shadows near the exit, Kang Jae-min, heir to Heir Group, watched her with an expression no one could read. Nia didn't know it yet, but that moment, standing her ground in front of 200 people, had just changed everything. Because 30 minutes later, she would be summoned to his office. And Kang Jae-min didn't summon people to congratulate them. Do you think Nia's boldness will ruin her or make her unstoppable? Hit the like button and tell me which part of the world you're watching from. Nia's hands were still shaking when the message came through on her phone. Director, Park. My office. Now. KJ Kang Jae-min. The heir. In 3 years at Heir Group, Nia had never met him. Jae-min was a ghost. A name whispered in boardrooms. A shadow at shareholder meetings. He was 32 years old. Harvard, MBA. Fluent in 4 languages. Built like he spent more time in the gym than behind a desk. And he was famously cold. Nia walked through the executive wing, past floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's skyline. The hallway was empty. Silent. When she reached his office, the door was already open. Kang Jae-min stood by the window, his back to her. Broad shoulders, tailored suit, hands clasped behind him. He didn't turn around. That was bold. Some would say reckless. Nia stepped inside, closed the door. "I presented the data, sir. The board needed to hear it." Jaemin turned, slowly. His face was unreadable, sharp jawline, dark eyes that seemed to see through everything. He studied her for a long moment. "You made the VP of Operations look outdated in front of 200 shareholders. Do you understand what that costs?" Nia held his gaze. "With respect, sir, what costs more? A bruised ego tonight? Or losing market relevance in 3 years?" Silence. Jaemin's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Intrigue. He walked to his desk, sat, leaned back in his chair. "You'll present your full strategy to the executive board next Monday. If it fails, you're done. If it succeeds..." He didn't finish the sentence, just watched her, waiting to see if she'd falter. Nia nodded once. Understood. She turned to leave, but as she reached the door, "Director Park," she stopped. "Don't apologize for being right." Nia glanced back. For the first time, she saw something in his expression. Not warmth, not approval, but respect. She left without another word. By Monday morning, the entire company knew. Kang Jae-min, who hadn't attended a single board meeting in over a year, would personally oversee Nia's strategy rollout. The project, a complete brand relaunch for Haneul's signature hotel chain. Budget, 50 billion won. Timeline, 6 months. Stakes, the future of the company. Nia was assigned a team, resources, an office 2 floors below Jaemin's. But she quickly realized this wasn't support. This was a test. For the next 3 weeks, Nia and Jaemin worked in close proximity. Strategy meetings, budget reviews, creative presentations, and every single time, they clashed. Jaemin wanted exclusivity, legacy, the Haneul name as an untouchable symbol of Korean luxury. Nia wanted authenticity, connection, a brand that invited people in without losing its prestige. Their debates were sharp, intellectual, sometimes heated. "If we make luxury accessible, we dilute the brand," Jaemin said during one late-night session, his arms crossed as he leaned against the conference table. Nia didn't look up from her laptop. "If we don't evolve, we become irrelevant. Relevance isn't the same as longevity. And longevity means nothing if no one remembers why you mattered." He went quiet. She could feel his eyes on her, weighing her words. But something else was happening. With every argument, every late-night revision session, every moment Nia refused to back down, Jaemin's respect grew. He noticed the way she commanded rooms, the way she defended her team, the way she never apologized for taking up space, even when others wanted her to shrink. And Nia began to see past the cold exterior, the way he listened, really listened, when she spoke, the way he protected her strategies in boardrooms, even when he disagreed with her methods, the way his jaw tightened when someone dismissed her ideas. He wasn't warm, he wasn't soft, but he was fair. Neither of them said it out loud. But the tension between them was no longer just professional. Then everything changed. It started with a single headline. Heir collaborates closely with rising Afro-Korean executive. Then another. Is Kang Jaemin's new partner more than professional? And another. Investor concerns rise over Haneul Group's image shift. Someone had leaked details of Nia and Jaemin's collaboration to the press. Photos of them entering meetings together, leaving the office late at night, standing close during site visits. The media spun it into speculation. Rumor, scandal. Nia's phone exploded with messages. Her mother called, worried. Her father, silent. And at Hanul Group, the whispers started. Within days, the board called an emergency meeting. Investors expressed concerns. Not about the strategy, about optics. Would Nia's rising profile damage Hanul's traditional image? Was Jaemin's judgment clouded? Should they reconsider the project leadership? And then the matriarch spoke. Madam Kang, Sun Hee, Jaemin's mother, controller of the Eleanor Foundation, 30% of Hanul Group's shares. Her voice was elegant, controlled, ice wrapped in silk. My son's professional decisions are his own, but the family's reputation is not. The message was clear. Distance himself from Nia or face consequences. Nia tried to focus on the work, but things started going wrong. Resources she'd requested, delayed. Vendor contracts, suddenly unavailable. Event logistics for the brand relaunch preview, mismanaged. It was subtle, professional, but deliberate. Someone inside the company was sabotaging her. Nia worked 18-hour days to compensate, fixed problems herself, rebuilt timelines. She refused to complain, refused to ask for help. But Jaemin noticed. He didn't intervene publicly, didn't make a scene, but quietly, behind closed doors, things started shifting. Resources reappeared, contracts were honored, logistics fell back into place. Nia didn't know how, didn't ask. But late one night, as she sat alone in her office reviewing budgets, Jaemin appeared in her doorway. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, watching her work. Finally, he spoke. You don't have to do this alone. Nia looked up, surprised. I'm not alone. I have a team. That's not what I meant. Their eyes met. For a long moment, neither spoke. The air between them felt charged, heavy. Then Jaemin stepped back. Get some rest, Director Park. He left. But Nia sat there, heart pounding, realizing something she hadn't wanted to admit. He wasn't just protecting the project. He was protecting her. The sabotage didn't stop. 2 days before the executive board presentation, Nia discovered that someone had altered her final budget projections. Numbers were off. Revenue forecasts didn't match. Cost analysis looked sloppy. If she presented this version, the board would tear it apart. She had 48 hours to fix it. Nia called her team. They worked through the night, cross-referencing every number, rebuilding every chart. At 3 a.m, she was alone in the conference room, eyes burning, when Jaemin walked in. He carried 2 cups of coffee, set one in front of her without a word. Then he sat down across from her, rolled up his sleeves, and started reviewing spreadsheets. You don't have to. I know, he said quietly. They worked in silence, side by side. And for the first time, Nia felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Safe. The day of the executive board presentation arrived. Nia stood in front of 15 of the most powerful people in Korean hospitality. Cho Sung-ho sat front row, arms crossed. Madam Kang sat beside him, expression unreadable. And Jaemin stood at the back, silent, watching. Nia presented for 45 minutes. Market research, consumer psychology, brand positioning, ROI projections. Every question, she answered with precision. Every doubt, she dismantled with data. By the end, even Cho Sung-ho had nothing to say. The board voted, 12-3 in favor of moving forward. Nia had won. But as she gathered her materials, Madam Kang approached. The matriarch's heels clicked against the marble floor. She stopped in front of Nia, smiled, cold, polite. Impressive presentation, Director Park. You're quite talented. Nia bowed respectfully. Thank you, Madam Kang. The older woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. My son values competence, but competence alone doesn't build legacies. Perception does. Image does. Family does. Nia held her gaze. I understand. Madame Kang tilted her head slightly. Do you? Because the media seems to think you and my son are more than colleagues. Silence stretched between them. I can't control what the media invents, ma'am. I can only control my work. Madame Kang's expression hardened. Then I suggest you focus on that. And only that. She walked away, leaving Nia standing there, hands trembling, not from fear, from anger. That night, Jaemin found Nia on the rooftop terrace of the Hanul flagship hotel. She stood at the railing, staring out at Seoul's glittering skyline. Didn't announce himself. Just walked to the railing beside her. Stood in silence. The city hummed below them. Wind swept across the terrace, cool against their skin. Finally, Nia spoke. Your mother thinks I'm a liability. Jaemin didn't deny it. My mother thinks everyone is a liability. Nia glanced at him. She's not wrong, though. The media, the investors. I'm complicating things for you. Jaemin turned to face her fully. His eyes were serious, intent. You're not a complication. You're the best strategist this company has seen in a decade. And if anyone, including my mother, can't see that, that's their problem, not yours. Nia's breath caught. He'd never spoken to her like this before, never dropped the professional distance. She searched his face. Why are you doing this? Protecting me, defending my work. You don't... Because you're right. His voice was quieter now. About the strategy, about the brand, about everything. And because... He stopped, looked, away. Because I respect you. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Nia felt her heart pounding. This wasn't professional anymore, and they both knew it. But before either of them could say more, Jaemin's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His jaw tightened. I have to take this. He walked away, leaving Nia alone under the stars. But she could still feel the weight of his words. 2 days later, Jaemin was summoned to the family estate. His mother, his uncle, 3 senior board members. They sat around a long table in the private dining room, surrounded by traditional Korean art and the weight of generations. Madame Kang spoke first. The relaunch is approved. Director Park's strategy is sound. But the optics are damaging our family's image. Investors are asking questions. Alliance families are concerned. You need to distance yourself from her, publicly. Jaemin's expression remained neutral. She's my marketing director. We're working on the most important project this company has undertaken in years. Distance isn't an option. His uncle leaned forward, hands clasped. Then make her someone else's responsibility. Reassign oversight. Bring in a co-lead. This closeness, it's inappropriate. Jaemin's hands clenched under the table. Inappropriate? She's the most qualified person for this role. Her work is flawless. Her strategy is working. What's inappropriate is asking me to undermine her because you're worried about headlines. Silence descended like a guillotine. Madame Kang's voice cut through, sharp and final. Jaemin, you are the heir to this company. Your decisions affect more than just you. The foundation, the family name, the future. Choose wisely. Jaemin stood, looked his mother in the eye. I already have. He walked out, leaving the family in stunned silence. The next morning, Nia arrived at her office to find a courier package waiting. Inside was a single document, a formal notice of project restructuring. Effective immediately, Kang Jaemin would step back from day-to-day oversight. A senior VP from operations would assume co-leadership. Cho Sung-ho. Nia's stomach dropped. This wasn't restructuring. This was punishment. She grabbed her phone, called Jaemin. No answer. Called again. Nothing. She took the elevator to the executive floor, but his assistant stopped her. Mr. Kang is unavailable today. Director Park. When will he be back? The assistant looked uncomfortable. I don't have that information. Nia returned to her office, mind racing. Had he caved to family pressure? Had he chosen them over her, over the project? She spent the day in meetings with Cho Sung-ho, who smiled politely and questioned every decision she'd made. By evening, she was exhausted, furious, and hurt. She didn't hear from Jaemin that night, or the next day. On the third day, Nia was preparing to leave when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Rooftop. Midnight. She knew who it was. The terrace was empty when she arrived. Moonlight spilled across the concrete, casting long shadows. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Jaemin emerged from the stairwell. He looked different, tired, like he hadn't slept. You disappeared, Nia said, her voice controlled but angry. 3 days. No word. And suddenly Cho Sung-ho is my co-lead? Jaemin stopped a few feet away. I didn't approve that restructuring. Then who did? The board. My mother pushed it through while I was dealing with family matters. And you just let it happen? His jaw tightened. I've been fighting it. Behind the scenes. But there are limits to what I can do without jeopardizing everything we've built. Nia shook her head. So what now? You protect the family name, and I work under Cho Sung-ho, who's been trying to sabotage me from day one? No. Jaemin stepped closer. I'm taking back full oversight tomorrow. Publicly. In front of the entire executive team. They'll destroy you for that. Let them try. His eyes burned with something she'd never seen before. Defiance. I'm not letting them take this from you. From us. Nia's breath caught. Us? Jaemin closed the distance between them. Yes, us. The words settled between them like a confession. Nia searched his face, looking for hesitation, for doubt. She found none. Your family will never accept this, she said quietly. I don't need them to accept it. I need them to respect it. That's not how families like yours work. Jaemin's expression softened, just slightly. Then maybe it's time things worked differently. Before Nia could respond, his phone buzzed. Then again, and again. He pulled it out, jaw tightening as he read. What is it? Media leak. Someone sent photos to 3 major outlets. Us. Here. Tonight. Nia's heart sank. Who? Does it matter? Jaemin's voice was bitter. By morning, this will be everywhere. He was right. By 6 a.m., the headlines were brutal. Hanul Heir's secret rendezvous with marketing director. Kang Jaemin defies family for controversial romance. Board crisis as Heir chooses love over legacy. Nia's phone rang constantly. Messages flooded in. Some supportive. Most vicious. Her mother called, voice tight with worry. Nia, what's happening? The neighbors are talking. Your father won't come out of his study. Yama, I'm fine. It's just media noise. This isn't noise. This is your life. Your career. Are you sure about this man? Nia paused. Was she? I have to go, Yama. I'll call you later. She hung up before her mother could protest. At Hanul headquarters, the atmosphere was volcanic. Emergency board meeting. 9 a.m. Nia wasn't invited. She sat in her office watching the clock, knowing her fate was being decided 3 floors above. At 10:30, her phone rang. Jaemin. Where are you? My office. Where else would I be? Stay there. I'm coming down. He arrived 10 minutes later, flanked by his assistant. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were hard. The board wants me to issue a public statement. Distance myself from you. Call this a professional misunderstanding. Nia's chest tightened. And? I told them no. Relief and fear crashed through her simultaneously. Jaemin, you can't just... I already did. I also told them that if they force this issue, I'll resign as heir and take my shares with me. Nia stood, shocked. You didn't. I did. That's suicide. Your entire life, everything you've worked for, means nothing if I have to compromise who I am to keep it. His voice was steady, certain. Nia felt something crack open in her chest. Why would you do that for me? Jaemin stepped closer, his gaze intense. Because you've never asked me to be anything other than honest. You've never wanted me for my name or my position. You've challenged me, pushed me, made me better. And somewhere along the way, I stopped wanting to do this without you. The air between them felt electric. I don't know what happens next, he continued, but I know I'm tired of pretending this is just professional. Nia's hands trembled. Your mother will never forgive you. She'll survive. The board could remove you. Let them try. Jaemin. He took her hand. I'm choosing you, Nia, if you'll let me. She looked down at their joined hands, at this man who had everything to lose and was willing to lose it anyway. This is crazy, she whispered. Probably. We could both end up with nothing. Or we could end up with everything that matters. Nia met his eyes and made her choice. Okay. The word was barely audible, but it changed everything. The next 2 weeks were chaos. The media frenzy intensified. Investors demanded answers. Alliance families withdrew support. Cho Sung-ho pushed for Jaemin's removal as project lead. But something unexpected happened. The younger shareholders rallied. They'd seen Nia's work. They'd watched the market response to her early initiatives, and they weren't willing to lose her. A counter-proposal emerged. Keep both Nia and Jaemin on the project. Full transparency. Performance-based evaluation. If the relaunch succeeded, all questions would be answered. If it failed, both would resign. The board accepted. Barely. Nia and Jaemin had one shot. The night before the brand relaunch event, Nia couldn't sleep. She stood in the empty ballroom of the flagship hotel, watching workers make final preparations. Everything had to be perfect. The event would showcase the new brand identity, immersive experiences, authentic storytelling woven into every detail. Investors from across Asia would attend. Media, industry leaders. This was her vision, fully realized, and if it failed, she'd lose everything. Footsteps echoed behind her. Jaemin appeared, hands in his pockets, looking as sleepless as she felt. Couldn't stay away either? He asked. Too much riding on tomorrow. He came to stand beside her, surveying the transformed space. It's brilliant, Nia. Everything you imagined. We'll see if anyone else thinks so. They will. His confidence steadied her. They stood in silence side by side, watching the city lights flicker through the floor-to-ceiling windows. No matter what happens tomorrow, Jaemin said quietly, I don't regret this. Nia turned to look at him. Even if we lose? Even then. She reached out, took his hand. Neither do I. They stood there, fingers intertwined, on the precipice of everything. Tomorrow would decide their future. But tonight, they had this. And for now, that was enough. The morning of the relaunch arrived cold and bright. Nia dressed carefully, every detail deliberate, professional, confident, unapologetic. When she arrived at the hotel, the energy was electric. Guests were already streaming in, cameras everywhere, journalists, influencers, investors. The scrutiny was crushing. But Nia held her head high. She'd earned this moment. The presentation began at 10. Nia took the stage, Jaemin standing in the wings, and began to speak. She told stories of heritage and evolution, of luxury that invited rather than excluded, of a brand brave enough to honor its past while embracing its future. The room was silent, captivated, and when she finished, the response was thunderous. The applause echoed through the ballroom like vindication. Investors rose from their seats, cameras flashed, industry leaders nodded in approval. Nia descended from the stage, heart pounding, barely believing what she was seeing. Throughout the day, reactions poured in. Social media exploded with praise. Hanul Group sets new standard for modern luxury. A masterclass in brand evolution. The future of hospitality starts here. Booking inquiries flooded the system within hours. Partnership requests from international brands. Interview requests from major publications. The data spoke louder than any critic ever could. By evening, even the most skeptical board members had gone quiet. Nia found herself surrounded by congratulations, handshakes, business cards pressed into her palm. But through it all, she kept searching for one face. She found him outside, on a quiet balcony overlooking the Han River. Jaemin stood alone, tie loosened, looking out at the water. "Hiding from your own success?" Nia asked softly. He turned, a genuine smile crossing his face. "Just needed a moment. That was incredible, Nia. You were incredible." She joined him at the railing, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "We did it. You did it. I just tried not to get in your way." Nia laughed, the sound lighter than she'd felt in months. "You did more than that." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights reflect on the river's surface. "Your mother was there," Nia said carefully. "I saw her leave during the reception." "I know." "Did she say anything?" Jaemin's jaw tightened slightly. "She will, eventually, but today proved something she can't argue with." "What's that?" "That you belong here. Not because of me, because of you." Nia felt warmth spread through her chest. "And us?" she asked quietly. "Where do we go from here?" Jaemin turned to face her fully, his expression serious but open in a way she'd never seen before. "I don't know what happens next. With the company, with my family, with us. But I know I don't want to do any of it without you." He reached out, gently taking her hand. "I'm done pretending this is just professional. Done letting other people's expectations dictate what I want. And what I want is you, if you'll have me." Nia's breath caught. For so long, she'd been the outsider. Too much of one thing, not enough of another. Fighting to prove she belonged in spaces that didn't want to make room for her. But standing here, with this man who'd chosen her, despite everything it cost him, she realized something. She didn't need to shrink anymore. "I want this too," she whispered. "I want you." Jaemin's smile was slow, transformative. He pulled her closer, their foreheads nearly touching. "Then we'll figure out the rest, together." He kissed her then, soft and certain, like a promise. And Nia kissed him back, feeling walls she'd built for years finally come down when they pulled apart. She was smiling. "Your family is going to make this difficult. Probably. The media will have a field day. Definitely. And there will be people at Hanul who never accept me." Jaemin cupped her face gently. "Let them talk. You've already proven everything that matters." Nia leaned into his touch, feeling something settle in her chest. Peace. Belonging. Home. "What happens Monday?" she asked. "Monday, you become Chief Marketing Officer." Nia blinked, stunned. "What?" "The board voted this afternoon. Unanimous. Well, almost." "Jaemin, you earned it, Nia. Every bit of it. The youngest CMO in Hanul's history. First Afro-Korean executive at that level. And you're going to be brilliant." Tears pricked her eyes. All those years of fighting, proving, surviving. It had led to this. "And you?" she asked. "What about you?" His expression turned thoughtful. "I'm stepping into a more active role. Executive VP of Strategic Development, working directly with you to expand what we started here. So we'll still be working together, if that's all right with you. Naya smiled through her tears. I think I can manage. They stood there, holding each other as the city breathed around them, no longer hiding, no longer pretending, just two people who'd found each other in the most unexpected way and chosen each other anyway. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. Hanuel Group's market share had increased by 32%. International recognition soared. The brand became synonymous with inclusive luxury without sacrificing prestige. Nia's office was now on the executive floor, glass walls overlooking Seoul's skyline. She'd built a team that reflected the diversity she'd always championed. Young voices, fresh perspectives, people who'd been told they didn't belong but proved otherwise. Jaemin's office was 3 doors down. They worked together daily, challenging each other, pushing each other, building something neither could have created alone. Madame Kang never apologized, but she stopped interfering. And when Nia presented at the year-end shareholder meeting, the matriarch sat in the front row and listened without interruption. It wasn't acceptance. Not yet. But it was respect. And for now, that was enough. Late one evening, as Nia reviewed quarterly reports, Jaemin appeared in her doorway. Working late again? She looked up, smiling. Says the man who sent me 3 strategy documents at midnight yesterday. He walked in, loosening his tie. Fair point. Dinner? Always. As they rode the elevator down together, Nia caught their reflection in the polished doors. 2 people who shouldn't have worked on paper. Different backgrounds, different struggles, different worlds. But somehow, they'd created something new. Not by erasing who they were, but by being exactly who they were. Together. The elevator doors opened to the lobby and they stepped out, into the Seoul night. Side by side. Equal. And finally, undeniably, home. Nia had spent her whole life being told she was too different to belong. But she'd learned something crucial. Belonging wasn't about fitting into spaces that weren't made for you. It was about creating new spaces. Spaces where excellence mattered more than expectations. Where vision mattered more than tradition. Where you could be exactly who you were and still be enough. She'd stopped waiting for permission to exist, and in doing so she'd changed everything, not just for herself, but for everyone watching who'd been told the same lie, that they didn't belong, that they weren't enough, that they should shrink to fit. Nia proved them all wrong, and she was just getting started. Nia didn't win because she played by their rules. She won because she rewrote them. She stopped apologizing for being different, stopped shrinking, and she became exactly who she was always meant to be. So let me ask you this. If you stopped shrinking, if you stopped waiting for permission, who would you become? Think about that. Sit with it. And if this story moved you, subscribe. Because I'm bringing you more stories of people who chose themselves, who refused to shrink,